Hello, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. And I just woke up this morning with a strong sense that I just need to do an agenda-less session with everybody. So no idea what we're going to be doing. Hi, Roshni, Smita, Chitra, and Sriram. You become my stalkers, I can see. Sairi is there. Suresh Kalani, but I think is it Aarti over there? Which of you is the Aarti? And then we have Nidhi, we have, of course, Padmaja is there, Hira is there, Garima, Ravi Trivedi, Priyanka, Shilpa. Lovely to see all of you. And, well, see most of your names because most of your videos are off. Because this is the time when you're in your bed and you're seeing how long you can last. Okay, last as long as you can. Let's see how we go. I remember meeting a person many years back, and he told me about his style of traveling. So he had found some website online where you can put in how much you can. You have a. Do you have a choice of country? No, I don't even think you have a choice of country. It's a website where you put in what your budget is, and then when they have a seat that matches your budget, then they'll let you know and which country it is. So it's like you just want to travel, but I only have whatever 15,000-20,000 rupees, right? So you go to the website, say this is what I can manage. Now you let me know when there's a ticket available. And then they'll get back to you, say, okay, this ticket is available to this country, that country, that country. And he literally would just take a ticket without knowing anything about the country. And then he had a very different style of traveling. So for example, he'd just take a train and he wouldn't have a fixed destination in mind. So maybe he'll take some station somewhere, but he wasn't necessarily going to get off at that station. So he makes a thought in his mind, for example, I will get off when I see a horse. So he'll keep looking out of the window. And when he sees a horse, that's the station he's going to get off. He'll make any kind of a decision like this. So I was amazed at the style of traveling where, most of us have a very clear idea where we're going, where we're going to be staying and everything. But this person is so free flowing and he'd made a whole lifestyle around traveling like this. And he'd said he'd had the most incredible adventures. So this is the reason I'm sharing this is that's kind of trusting the process, trusting the agenda, the wisdom of agenda-lessness. It takes us to places that we might not otherwise expect to go, right? So welcome to all of you who have been with me before, and perhaps some names are unfamiliar, so maybe some of you are joining for the first time. Welcome to you as well. We like to start these sessions with the sound of my bowl. Makes a nice peaceful sound. If you want to close your eyes for a few minutes with this, you can, as you like. We can all take a deep breath.
So I want to share a post with you, which someone sent me today. It's a picture. So it goes like this: root of emotion. From the void comes a thought. From the thought comes a desire. Desire can be unfulfilled, which leads to anger. Desire can be fulfilled. Even if it's fulfilled, you have a fear of losing it, or you want more of it, or you're greedy, or you're envious in some way. Somebody else has some other thing that they have, or you get arrogant. Look how smart I am. I got it, you didn't. This leads to agitation and delusion, and finally, self-destruction. So I posted this on WhatsApp, and I said, basically, we are doomed. No matter what you do, whether it's fulfilled or it's unfulfilled, you're in trouble. But just look at this again, right? Look at it carefully. It's not actually that we're doomed, but it can appear like we're doomed. So first of all, not every thought leads to a desire. This is one place that we have to look at. Not every, in fact, even before this, or we'll come to that later on. But for over here, not every thought necessarily leads to a desire. Like, you could ask me, what's the time? I'll say, hey, it's, what time is it now? It's 10 or 10:08, whatever. So yeah, I just answered your question, so that necessarily didn't lead to any desire. Not every thought leads to, you ask me my name, I'll tell you my name, right? So my teacher differentiates between first generation thought and second generation thought. Byron Katie makes this distinction. Ravi says, my teacher said desires are thoughts which are not abandoned. That's an interesting one. That's a good one. Yeah, they kind of stick, the linger, right? That can be like that. So first generation is when you describe something, that's first generation. So I describe what my room looks like, or I describe what's going on in my life. That's a first generation thought. Second generation is comparison and preference. So my room's not big enough, or my room's too noisy, or it's just too cluttered, or whatever. That's so the likes and dislikes about my room. My room is better than your room, right? Or my room should be like this. That's called second generation. So first generation thinking doesn't really create trouble. Second generation thinking tends to create trouble. That's when it becomes into likes and dislikes, and it becomes into preferences, and it leads to desire. So this is one thing to look out for. This is a very good definition, I felt, that unfulfilled leads to anger. It can lead to other things also, sadness and all, but anger, because the definition of anger, the way I've understood anger is frustrated desire. Notice there's a connection between desire and anger. You get angry because some desire has not been met. Some desire has been frustrated. That can go in two directions. One is inwards and one is outward. So anger turned towards yourself is called guilt. Yeah, go ahead, Reshma. You can ask the question. I'll see when I can answer it. So anger turned inward is guilt. Frustrated expectations from yourself, guilt. Frustrated expectations from others, anger. Right. It's good to analyze anger like this. In fact, I went for a workshop once where we made a list of things we're angry about. And then we were asked, what is your fear behind this? Because behind every anger is some fear. Like, for example, the mother is angry at her young son for playing too close to the road. Because there's a fear he might get hit by a car, right? So usually there's a fear something may happen, So some value of ours is being violated. So we're angry. So I seem to be stuck in a desire, fulfilled, fear, failure loop in my professional life. Any thoughts or advice? Yeah, let's see. Let's explore this. Let's see what comes out of it. Yeah. I don't know if I have any advice, but let's just explore this and we'll see if we get any insight. So we did this exercise in this workshop where we made a list of everything we're angry about. We made a list of everything we're afraid of. So basically, we're angry because if that keeps happening, it'll lead to something, right? I'm angry at, or whatever. I'm angry at the government for suppressing free speech because I feel if this keeps on happening, then it'll lead to a very controlling atmosphere in our country where we can't say what we need to say. So we are afraid something's going to happen. Behind every anger is some kind of fear. I'm angry at the fact that people don't care how they dispose their garbage because I'm afraid our planet cannot take this kind of bad treatment beyond a point. Behind every anger is a fear. Behind every fear is an unmet request. So what's the request I have? I would like people to separate the garbage. I would like the government to be more tolerant of people with different points of view, right? And not put them behind bars. I would like the child to not play so close to the road. If the ball goes to the road, call me, I'll get the ball. You don't go close to the road. It's an unmet request. And behind every unmet request is love. Because I really love you, because I really care for you. I really care for this country. I really care for this planet. I really care for my child. So I love this exercise. It's such a powerful exercise. All the things you're angry about, all the things you're afraid about, all your requests, and basically behind that, nothing but love. And so basically, if you look at it from one perspective, anger is fermented love. Anger is fermented love. So because deep down behind the anger is a love. You only get angry when you love something. If you didn't love something, you wouldn't get angry. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, on the other side, we have fulfilled. So very often we feel if our desires are fulfilled, everything will be fine. But it's so often it doesn't fine because it's fulfilled. There's a story about a man who he dies and he hears a voice, "Welcome, my son. What do you want?" So, oh, looks like I've come to heaven. He said, "I'd like an amazing palatial house." Poof, amazing palatial house comes. What else do you want? I want an amazing, beautiful, very sincere wife. Wonderful wife appears. I want amazing food. Amazing food appears. Chitra not finding it funny, Sriram. I'm sorry. It's like, I'm sorry, that's not funny. Yeah. Amazing food appears. Basically, everything he asks for just appears, right? So this goes on for many months. And he's loving his life. I mean, this is the beauty of heaven. And then one day, suddenly a thought appears to him that, this voice, I've never seen this voice. It just says, "What do you want?" And I ask for it and gives it to me. So if it's giving it to me, you could also take it away. Tomorrow it could take it away. So from that moment onwards, he can't sleep at peace. What if I lose my wife? What if I lose my house? What if I lose all my lovely food? What if I lose all these lovely things I've come to get used to? What if? He can't sleep anymore. And after a few days of being unable to sleep, he one day shouts and says, "God, if this is heaven, I'd rather be in hell." And the voice says, "Where do you think you are, my son?" So this is the hell we create for ourselves. So we get so attached to the things we have. I mean, how many of us, if you think back, there was a time, whatever you're earning right now, there was probably a time you couldn't imagine you'd ever earn that much. Couldn't even imagine I'd earn that much, right? And you probably lived in a smaller home. You probably had fewer things, and you were quite fine. But today, if you think of going back to that level of earning or that kind of home, you're like, "Oh my God, how could I possibly survive?" But you survived. You were fine, actually. In fact, we all came having nothing. We all came empty-handed, And yet we now feel that unless I have this and this and this and this, it's like basic. This is like basic stuff. More and more, as I go through life, I realize there's no basic. We invent these basics. Because I've met very interesting people. I've met yogis who have lived deep underground. They've been dug in and they've lived deep underground. So they don't even seem to need oxygen. I've met more than one person. I met a few people who have not eaten food for years. They're breatharians. They don't eat food. They live on prana, it seems. There's a lovely documentary you can call. It's called the Light documentary, where they look at this in a very scientific way. How is this possible? It can't be possible, but it is. And they make scientists meet such people. It's very fascinating. Totally different worldviews. In fact, one of these people is a scientist who himself was skeptical, and he followed a certain protocol, and he began living on light, on prana. So it makes you wonder. Recently, someone sent me a video where this person is rolling on fire. It's like bonfire, and it's rolling on it happily, lying down on top of it, rolling on top of it. Wow. I mean, you said it, at the very least, the temperature should be okay. This person is lying down on fire. I think there was a video that went viral last year of these soldiers in the upper Himalayas. And they're shocked to find a man wearing nothing but a loincloth. And he's happily walking in the such deep snow. He's walking over there. He's meditating over there. And the soldiers get startled, and even this man is wondering what to do. And finally, they start saying, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. So he also comes, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. Then he walks past them. He goes tumbling in the snow, tumbling in the snow, tumbling in the snow. Some kind of man who lives high up in the Himalayas, wearing almost nothing, like just a little loincloth. I mean, this is beyond, this is like superhuman. How is it doing this? So, what really do we need? And what do we imagine that we need? How much of these needs are imaginary? And then, even if they're fulfilled, now there's the fear of losing them. What will happen? What will happen? Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. FEAR. False evidence appearing real. And then, of course, there's greed. So once you get it, then you want more and more and more, and never seems to be enough. Right? Like in my case, I notice the greed for books. I like a book, then I'll buy that book, then I'll buy another book, then I'll buy another book. I often don't even finish reading these books. And finally, I've decided I'm buying the book not because I want to read it. I want to support this author's work. I believe in this author's mission. My blessings, my contribution towards your work. I may or may not read your book, but I believe in you. Do it. Keep on buying books, keep on buying things. Right? So this is like you have it, but then you want more, right? Is that Lalita? Is that the Japanese word? There's a Japanese word actually for collecting books. Can you unmute it? Let me see if you can unmute yourself. 1 second. I think that's the word. It's a book of collecting. Try now, Lalita. Try unmuting yourself.
Yes, Nithya, that's the word. I think.
What does it mean, Sondoku?
So this the desire to keep collecting books even if you don't read them. So I have a pile like that as well.
So there's a Japanese. So the beautiful thing is, in Japan, there's a word for this: the desire to keep collecting books even though you'll not read them. The strange thing is, it doesn't have a negative connotation. Like most of us have a guilt around it. Oh, I have books that I haven't read. But in Japan, they say, no, it's actually, it is what it is. It could be valuable. In fact, I should see if I can find. Lalita, just do a search on your computer for some nice pictures of Sondoku. I know Roshna is saying, what about games? Yeah, that I was going to come to that. I have a habit of collecting games also. I collect a lot of games. So, right, books, whatever we collect games, we collect books, we collect all of these things. So now more and more and more and more. And then when is it ever going to, it never seems to finish. Like you keep on collecting more and more and more, right? But what I love about Japan is that they don't add guilt to this. They say, yeah, this is it, and they have some good. There is certain books may never be available again. Certain books you may want to read much later in your life. Right now, you don't want to read them. You may want to read them later. Certain books you may give to somebody else. Who knows? I love the fact that they don't add guilt to it. Yeah, it's spelled Tsundoku. Sondoku. What about toys for kids? Yeah, why not? All of these things. But just notice it. See, we're not getting into good or bad. We're looking at our experience.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just have to go through things. Like there are two ways. One is either you fulfill the desire, or you, through awareness, you transcend the desire. Certain things you can just through awareness transcend. You can just bypass them. I don't think I need that. But certain things you have to go through. So I've decided I need to go through my desire of having many games. I'm going to go through it. And then I'm going to be out on the other end, hopefully. I can imagine people having a big fight after I'm gone. Which game belongs to whom? He promised me this game. He promised me that game. My legacy of games. Envy. Can someone give an example of how, either in the chat or you can unmute yourself, how a desire fulfilled leads to envy? Can someone give an example of that? You can also unmute yourself if you want.
Maybe you keep comparing your success to other people's success.
Yeah. So even now that you've got it, then you see somebody else has got something better or bigger or more fancy than you have, right? So you bought yourself a really nice, whatever, nice house, but then you found that your brother or sister bought an even bigger house, right? And then suddenly you have envy now. We could have, we should have. That could be an example. Any other example? Comparison is one, definitely. Comparing our own present with our past also could be an example. Envy, yeah. And I think this one is pretty clear, arrogance. It's quite easy. In fact, I saw a very nice video recently about how much of success is hard work and how much of it is luck. If you're part of my Hadayoli group on Telegram, I shared a lot of good stuff there. So just go to Telegram and type Hadayoli and you'll find the group. It's a really good, it's a YouTube channel called Veritasium or something like that. And they had a very nice video on good luck versus hard work. And we imagine that what we have achieved is through our hard work. But the reality is most of it is due to luck. Of course, hard work played a part. But we give far more emphasis to hard work than actually, in most cases, like the biggest luck was where you were born, which family you were born in, where you were born, which country you were born in. You can't negate that, right? And of course, so what they said is, in a way, it's good to believe that it's your hard work that creates success. It's good to believe that, even though actually it's a lie. But it's good to believe that because that makes you work harder. Because if you feel it's all chance anyway, then who will make any effort? So it's good to believe that, but it's good to know that actually that belief is not true. And there are many others in this world who could have been as, if not more successful than you, given the same opportunities. So then you have compassion for others, and then you make an effort. You don't just get proud of your own success, and you're willing to do things to support others as well. Right? How many supporting factors were there for you to become who you've become? So many supporting factors, more than we can even count. That's a great video. So interestingly enough, desire fulfilled as well as unfulfilled does not totally satisfy us. In fact, the whole point of desire, actually, if you think about desire, the real joy of desire is the ending of desire, isn't it? I really want something, really want something, really want something. And then I got it. Now I can stop wanting it. So at least for a few seconds, I can stop wanting it. It's the ending. That's the real peace. That's the real joy. The joy is not in the desire. The joy is in the ending of desire. Even the teachers like Abraham Hicks and all who talk about, desire is not a bad thing. But even they're talking about how do you handle the desire for me like a frying pan. How do you hold it? Do you hold it from the hot side or the handle, right? So the way teachers like Abraham Hicks are talking about it, that you have the desire like it's already so. You feel it like it's already so. You don't come from a place of, oh, I don't have it, not the lack of it, but the sense of it's already so. You come into what they call vibrational alignment with your desire. How would you feel if you already had that desire? It had already come true for you. So let's come up this chart and just the first step here, void and thoughts. So one of my teachers, I found this statement particularly powerful. Byron Katie said, there is only emptiness and the stories we tell. There is only emptiness and the stories we tell. Like to say, the universe is not made of atoms. It's made of stories. Atom is also a story, which different scientists would not be sure what an atom is, right? There is only emptiness and the stories we tell. The moment you tell a story, it's like it collapses and becomes real. The moment you believe a thought, it becomes real. So what one of the reasons we're not doomed is we don't necessarily have to believe every thought. So right here, the linkage between the void and the thought. Okay, what's even interesting is we sometimes imagine we cannot live unless we have thoughts. But actually, you're actually quite capable of living. You're actually in a way you live better without. You have some nice annotation happening. How wonderful. We have, it's actually, I've met some yogis who've told me that they have gone through years of their life where not a single thought arose, and yet everything happened perfectly. I was in Korea, and we went to a monastery of a very famous Korean teacher. And her story is fascinating. As a child, she was born in an extremely rich family, extremely very, very rich, very wealthy family. And then there was some economic problem, some financial downturn, something happened in the country. Her father lost everything. So they went from being super, super duper rich to absolutely abjectly poor, like a massive, like, refrigerated or frying pan kind of thing, complete polarity. To the point where her father became alcoholic and they were just barely getting by. And after a few years of this, she got fed up and she said, I don't want to live. She was less than 10 years old. She said, I just can't live like this. And she walked away into the mountains. And she lived in the mountains for the next 8 to 10 years of her life, alone. A little child, imagine, a little child grew up completely alone in the mountains. The wolves gave her body heat to keep her warm in the winter. She'd sleep with the wolves. These things happen sometimes. And she shared her experience that she became so in tune with nature that she'd walk in complete darkness. Complete darkness she'd walk in. She's totally confident. And one time she was walking and her body just stopped. And her mind wants to continue, but her body stopped. Why is my body stopped? So she touches, it's completely dark. She touches, there's a cliff. One more step, she would have died. She said, my mind didn't know, my body knew. In other words, there's a deeper intelligence that's running things. Our mind thinks it's running things. Like yesterday I was in the market. This little kid is sitting on a little toy scooter. The kid thinks he's running the scooter, but actually his dad behind him is pushing, and the dad has the rail handle. So the kid just thinks he's deciding to go right or left. Actually, the dad is deciding right or left. In the mall, there's a mall close to where I live, and they have this similar thing. It's like a car, and there's a man who's walking behind the car. So the kid thinks he's directing the car. The guy behind with the remote control is deciding where the car is going. So we imagine we are the ones running the show, but the show is running. The show is just running, right? Some of you are laughing as well, right? So Anastasia, the ringing cedars of Russia. Yeah, similar story. You're right. Yeah. So this Korean lady, she's become a famous teacher in Korea now. She lived for so many years in nature without any other human contact, and she was just fine. In fact, in some ways, she thrived better than many of us do. So this imagination, because so much of our education is based on thought that we don't realize there are other levels of consciousness that we can also operate from. So thought is important, but thought is not the only thing. Linear thought is not the only thing. The Native Americans, just like you and I read books and read, words. Native Americans, Polynesians, they could read nature. So they'd make a prayer and say, where can we find food? And they'd look up at the sky, and the cloud would take a shape of a finger and say, there. The Polynesians would navigate vast open seas the same, if not better, than our most modern scientific satellite navigation. How? They would look at the birds, they would look at the clouds, they would look at the waves. And based on that, in the open ocean, they would know where to go. They would navigate the open seas, the Polynesians. So they were reading something that you and I have forgotten how to read. They were reading nature itself. So resting in the void and at the level of thought, differentiating between first generation thought and second generation thought. Second generation is the one that creates stickiness. First generation is describing what is. Second generation is my likes and dislikes, preferences, and holding on tight. That's the kind of thought that creates trouble. How do you know it's a second generation thought? Chances are you feel confined. Chances are you feel heavy. Chances are the journey ahead looks very confusing. So if you feel contracted, if you feel heavy, the journey ahead seems confusing. That chances are that's second generation. First generation is just a description of things the way they are. Not a problem. At the level of desire, how are you holding it? Holding it tight or holding it light? Desire held lightly is called an intention. A desire held tightly is called an expectation. Intentions don't really create trouble. Expectations create trouble. I can have an intention that let's have a good couple of hours and let's have a good time. I can have an intention that my internet remains stable and some of you remain awake by the end of it. That can be, but I can't expect that. I don't know. May or may not happen. Like the lovely story of Ajahn Chah, one of our teachers, Ajahn Chah, one of my teachers. His student Ajahn Sumedho, American monk, uh, he asked Ajahn Sumedho to give a talk at one of the festival days. Now, Ajahn Sumedho has been with him for a few years, but his Thai is still not that good. Only been speaking Thai for 3-4 years. So anyway, he comes up and he gives a talk. Somehow he gives a talk for 1 hour. He's about to finish, and Ajahn Chah says, "No, keep going. Another hour. Another hour. All right." So he keeps speaking. People get up and start leaving. And he's about to round off when Ajahn Chah says, "No, keep going. Another hour. Another hour." I mean, it's not his native language. There's only so much he can speak. Another hour. By this time, most people have left. Some of the old women are sitting there. Some people have fallen asleep. And when he finished the third hour, he could not believe it when Ajahn Chah said, "Another hour." And he said, by this time, even the lizards had fallen asleep on the wall. But he did it. He followed his teachers and he somehow just kept going 4 hours. And he said that those 4 hours were the most powerful 4 hours of my life because before then, and this happens especially in Western countries, we want to show how good we are. We want to not just give a talk, we want to give an inspiring talk. We want to give an amazing talk. We want to be really good at it. We want to be excellent at it. And when you have touched such a low, I mean, talk about audience response, people leave, people fall asleep, even the lizards fall asleep. I mean, everyone is pretty much gone, right? Except a few other monks are there. So by that time, he had come to a place where it didn't matter anymore. He was just his teacher asked him to teach, he's going to teach. It didn't matter if you liked it, didn't like it. He said that one experience made him the powerful teacher that he is. Of course, he didn't say that about himself, but he is a powerful teacher. In fact, I was inspired to become a monk by reading Ajahn Sumedho's book, The Way It Is. I think it should be freely available online. He has many books. So his talks were so lucid and so inspiring. And because he'd cleansed himself of requiring the approval of his audience, that's why they're so powerful, those talks. Because you can sense when a speaker is trying to get your validation, right? And there's something powerful about his letting go of that. So desire held lightly is an intention. Desire held tightly is an expectation. And our troubles come from our expectations. The stickiness, the shenpa. Shenpa is a Tibetan word which means stickiness. Yeah, so this is something I wanted to, I just found this chart very fascinating. And so right there, those first, actually we can go a little bit deeper into this. So at the void is just presence, enjoying presence. I call that conscious non-intention, to be in presence. It's beautiful to be in the storyless state. People think being thoughtless is very difficult. Actually, it's so easy to be thoughtless. Right now, everybody just try this. Notice the sounds you're hearing very clearly. In order to hear the sounds very clearly, you had no choice but to mute your thinking for a while. If you had been actively thinking, you would not have been able to hear the sounds. So it's actually as simple as giving your full attention to any sense door. See, hear, smell, taste, touch. With full attention, and that mutes your thinking right there. Eckhart Tolle gives us 3 doorways to the now. Very nice 3 doorways. Number 1 is sense awareness. So see, with all your attention, see. One thing I noticed when I first began meditating is after the meditation, the colors were more vivid. All the sense experience. Sounds were more crisp. Tastes were more deep. Anything I touch also, it just felt I could feel more. I was more alive, right? As opposed to going through life on autopilot or maybe in a distorted state. Everything like came into sharp focus. The same television signal on an old beat up TV versus the most modern, I don't even know what size they come in now, 4K, Ultra 4K. The same signal, right? But on that TV, it's like, oh, wow, how amazing is it? I recently upgraded my webcam. So it's like, wow, I didn't even realize it could be better than my inbuilt camera of my laptop. It's like, wow, that's cool. So that's sense experience. Sense experience, when you bring presence and awareness to your sense experience, life comes into high definition. Life comes into focus. Second one Eckhart Tolle talks about is the inner feeling of aliveness. How do you know you're alive? There is an inner feeling of aliveness. You have anywhere from 20 to 200 trillion cells. Scientists aren't sure how many. 20 to 200 trillion cells. And these cells are communicating. And the hum of that communication are our feelings. And there's an ocean of feeling here. And often we get so much into our head, we forget that. But like this is to be embodied, to fully feel what I'm feeling, even if it's unpleasant, doesn't matter. One of the amazing things I discovered is any feeling felt fully is blissful. Any feeling, even if it's unpleasant. If you allow yourself to feel your unpleasant feeling fully, that's blissful. Which is why some of us enjoy exercise so much. Exercise can be quite painful, but you allow yourself to feel that pain. That's blissful. Endorphins. Any feeling felt fully is actually blissful. You don't resist it. And the third one Eckhart Tolle talks about is being conscious of being conscious. 3 gates to the now: sense experience, inner feelings of aliveness, consciousness itself. Being conscious of being conscious. Rupert Spira gives us a nice question. He says, ask yourself, am I aware? How do you know you're aware? You focused on awareness itself. You didn't just focus on some object. You focused on awareness itself. 3 gates to the now. So that's how you access the void. The void is accessed by full presence. Then as thoughts come in, you notice, are they creating some strong ripples? Or are they just an observation of what is? If they're creating strong ripples, then there's some polarity. There's likes and dislikes. There's a lovely Zen teaching that the great way is not difficult. The great way is not difficult for one who has no preferences. Make the slightest distinction, however, heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. So, like you heard the saying, nothing is good or bad. Thinking makes it so. Rumi says, out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing is a field. I'll meet you there. Right. So like this. So when unfulfilled also, even our unfulfilled desires, there are so many ways one can work with this. One is that, let's see what's coming. Can you tune into some unfulfilled desire? One of the ways I deal with unfulfilled desires is this beautiful teaching by Harivansh Rai Bachchan. He says, "Man chahi ho to acha, na ho to aur bhi acha." If you get what you want, that's good. If you don't get what you want, that's brilliant. Why? Because we know from our life experience, many times not getting what we wanted was actually better. Because we don't have the full perspective, right? So we can trust. I may get what I want, but sometimes not getting what I want in the bigger picture, it's actually even better. It's good to sometimes, I encourage you to read biographies once in a while. People who inspire you, read biographies. Because you'll find it's not like everything they wanted always happened. They often had many setbacks. They often had many things that unwanted things happen. Life took unexpected turns. But despite that, they had a very rich life experience. So even unfulfilled desires are not necessarily a bad thing. It's how you hold it. In fact, there's a lovely teaching called the law of the seed. The law of the seed states, I'll give you an example of an apple tree. So an apple tree, on average, an apple tree gives about 500 apples a season. One apple, on average, again, it varies based on the type of apple. On average, one apple has 10 seeds. Let's just say it has, some have 8, some have 12. So 10 seeds. 10 into 500, 5,000. 5,000 seeds in one season. Well, that's a lot of seeds. Why would it give 5,000 seeds? Because nature knows not every one of those seeds is going to grow to full size. Not every seed will find the right ground, the right soil, the right water, the right nourishment. You can make apple seeds to make cyanide for your enemies. Yeah. I heard it takes a lot of seeds, though. You should Google it. It takes about 1,200 seeds, not a small amount. So apple seeds, 5,000 seeds. Why? Because nature knows not every seed will get the right conditions to grow into a fully sized tree. But some of them will, right? So some of them will not get the right soil. Some will get the right soil, but not water. Some will get water, then they'll go into sapling, but they'll be eaten up by something or they'll get sick. So very few of those, maybe out of the 5,000, maybe only 20 or 50 are going to become full-size trees. And then each of those full-size trees will give out 500 apples. Each apple has 10, 5,000 seeds a season. So when you're asked how many seeds in an apple, maybe earlier you said 8 or 10. Now, I would like you to say there are infinite seeds in an apple. Why? Because any one of those seeds contains within it a tree. I'm just going to mute everybody temporarily. 1 second. Interesting sounds. All right. Any one of those. So you see, within an apple are seeds, but within each seed is a tree, and within each tree are so many more apples. So it's actually infinite. So how are you looking at desire? Are you looking at desire? When you look at desire as, hey, I only have one apple, and therefore I only have 10 seeds. Or are you looking at it as, this apple has infinity within it? So when you approach it from that kind of infinite mind, then you don't get unfulfilled so easily. You have a deep trust that even so-called missing out, you're going to get to the place you need to get. There's a lovely quote in Kung Fu Panda, there's Master Oogway, who says, one often encounters one's destiny on the path one takes to avoid it. Have you heard the story of, in the Puranas, there's a story of Garuda, who sees, I think Yamraj has come to meet, forgetting Shiva or Vishnu. Yamraj has come to meet him, and he notices a little bird. And Yamraj gazes at that bird, and he's kind of looking at the bird like this. And then he goes inside to meet, I forget, let's say Shiva, he's going to meet Shiva. So now Garuda notices this, oh, Yamraj saw that little bird. That means that little bird is, could you close the presentation? Okay, let me close it for a bit. So Yamraj looks at the little bird. So Garuda says, oh, this bird's time is about to be up. Can I save this bird? This poor little innocent bird, Yamraj is going to kill it. So Garuda, of course, is a gigantic, huge, mythical, fantastic bird. So he takes the bird and he flies at great speed. And he goes over the mountains and he goes over the oceans. He goes over the 7 oceans and he goes to this far off land. And in the far off land, he finds another forest. And in the forest, he finds the tree. And in the tree, he finds a small little place and he hides the bird over there. And he's very content. This bird is too far away from Yamaraj to get him now. And then he flies back. And then Yamraj comes out of that meeting smiling. He's saying, how amazing is this world? How amazing is life? So why are you smiling? He said, yes, because when I was about to enter this meeting, I saw that the destiny of this bird is to die, but not die here, die thousands of kilometers away from here in a forest fire. I said, how is it possible? This little bird, how will it possibly get so far in such a little time? And then Garuda realized, oh my God, he has been instrumental in that bird dying in that forest fire. So, one often meets one's destiny on the road one takes to avoid it. Does that mean everything is fated? What about free will? One of my favorite, this is like, don't take it seriously, but this is my fun way of saying this is, if you believe in free will, that's your destiny. And if you believe in destiny, that's your free will. But the deeper answer to that question is when we say destiny or free will, then we have to ask who is subject to free will and who is subject to destiny. Because there's an assumption there that there is an entity sitting here, that I am this body and mind. So if you are this body and mind, what is who is the you in this? Because your body keeps changing. Scientists tell us every 3 years your body, every cell in your body is changed in 3 years. So then which of that is you? Your thoughts keep changing. Who you were 5 years back, 2 years back, even a few days back. Thoughts are different now. So who is the one over here? So yet the deeper question to ask, more than what is destiny, what is free will, is who is subject to destiny and who is the one making those choices out of free will. And that's the focus of self-inquiry. That's a good place to focus. So the way I understand it is that, have you heard this prayer, the serenity prayer, that grant me the how does it go? Grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It's actually a very, very deep prayer. So what does it mean? Yeah, go ahead, Patty, what are you saying? You can't? Okay, let me unmute you. Try.
So, to this very question, there is a very beautiful explanation in Kashmir Shaivism, where you just mentioned Shiva, Shakti, and Nara, right?
Yeah.
From the Nara point of view, when the person is living in an illusion that I am this body and I am this mind, is when they believe in a destiny that everything is predestined, I'm not in control of my life. But Shiva is out to play, is what Kashmir Shaivism says, that Shiva is out to play and is, taking all these avatars to experience life in different ways. And it is his free will that he's choosing to experience life in these different ways. And I found that explanation really beautiful.
So what you're saying is, from the point of view of an individual, it's destined. But
Destiny.
from the point of view of our absolute self,
Yeah.
it's absolutely free.
Yes.
Wow, I love that. What a great way of looking at it. See, life is so paradoxical. It's full of these kind of paradoxes. Yeah. So one of the ways that I understand this is that the serenity prayer, that grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. This moment I cannot change. It's already here now. Whatever the state of my health is, my body is, the light is, you people are here. It's already here. It's too late. It's here. No, it shouldn't be, but it is. But it shouldn't be, but it is. So might as well get serene. This is the way it is. I missed my flight. Okay, this is the way it is. Someone abused me. This is the way it is. If I fight that, I'm arguing with reality. It's too late. So what is here? Let's say it's destined. Why is it destined? It's taken countless causes and factors for it to count to be this. You did something, I did something, life did something, nature did something, weather system did something. And now here we are, this is it. So this moment is destined. Too late. It's already here. But the story I tell about this moment, how I describe this moment, there are infinite ways in which you can describe this moment. And they can vary from very highly resistant to very highly appreciative. There's a whole spectrum, how you can describe this moment. What thought you choose to believe about this moment. Maybe there is some free will. Or maybe even simpler than that, whether we want to choose to believe this arisen thought or not. A thought arises. I am so unfortunate. I can never do things. Or I'm better than you, or I can do everything. Any thought that arises. To believe that thought or to know it is just a thought has arisen. One important teaching I got, because one of my sanskaras, tendencies, was doubt, right? Doubt. So I doubt myself. I doubt the teaching, that doubt my teacher, that doubt. It was one of my sanskaras. So I asked my teacher, what's the antidote to doubt? He said, the real antidote to doubt is when doubt arises, just know this is doubt. That's it. Just know, recognize it as doubt. Don't get into a big argument with it. No, I'm better than that. No, they're better than that. Or this should be, could be. No, just know doubt is doubt. To know a doubt as a doubt. To know confusion is also clarity. To know you're confused is actually clarity. I sometimes joke with people. People talk about losing their memory. I said, if you know you forgot, it's not so bad yet. It gets really bad, but you don't even know you forgot. So if you know you're confused, it's not so bad right now. To know you're confused is also a kind of clarity. And confusion precedes clarity. So there will be confusion. One of my favorite Zen teachings is great faith, great doubt, great awakening. It goes in that order. Great faith. Great faith is very gullible. We listen to everything our parents say, everything our teachers say, everything everybody says, society says, news channels say. We just take it all in. Yes. But then at one point, you say, what is this? Is it really true? Is it really true for me? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what my parents told me 100% true, what my teachers told me, or even what the government tells me, what the news tells me. You start doubting everything and you can get paranoid. Oh my goodness, what do I believe? You lose all your coordinates. But somehow through that, you arrive at great awakening. So great faith, great doubt, great awakening. You have to have faith in everything I say. You have to doubt everything I say. And only then does it become yours. Anything less than it, it's not yours yet. You got to have great faith in your tradition. You got to completely doubt your tradition. And only then you embody your tradition. Nothing before that. It's beautiful. So yeah. Can we just take a few minutes of silence? We've been talking for a bit. Eyes can be open or closed. Be with yourself. So I feel like reading out a couple of things for all of you. One of them is, there are two short articles. One is called Nobody Owes You Anything. Nobody owes you anything. There's another article by Elizabeth Gilbert. So I just found it online. So one of them goes like this. It's a letter written by a politician and investment advisor, writer called Harry Brown. It was a letter he wrote for his 9-year-old daughter. Here's the letter. It's Christmas, and I have the usual problem of deciding what to give you. I know you might enjoy many things, books, games, clothes, but I'm selfish. I want to give you something that will stay with you for more than a few months or years. I want to give you a gift that might remind you of me every Christmas. If I could give you just one thing, I want it to be a simple truth that took me years to learn. If you learn it now, it may enrich your life in hundreds of ways. It may prevent you from facing many problems that have hurt people who have never learned it. The simple truth. The truth is simply this. No one owes you anything. How could such a simple statement be important? It may not seem to be so, but understanding it can bless your entire life. Just to make this more fun, every time I say in this passage, you say that many times. Nobody owes you anything. Whenever I say it, you also say it, right? I know you're muted, but just say it. This is fun. Join me in this as I keep reading this. Let's get back to the article. How could such a simple statement be important? It may not seem so, but understanding it can bless your entire life. No one owes you anything. It means that no one is living for you, my child, because no one is you. Every person is living for himself. His own happiness is all he can ever personally feel. When you realize that no one owes you happiness or anything else, you'll be freed from expecting what isn't likely to be. It means that no one has to love you. If someone loves you, it's because there's something special about you that gives them happiness. Find out what that something special is. Try to make it stronger in you. You'll be loved even more. When people do things for you, it's because they want to, because you, in some way, give them something meaningful that makes them want to please you, not because anyone owes you anything. No one has to like you. If your friends want to be with you, it's not out of duty. Find out what makes others happy so they'll want to be near you. No one has to respect you. Some people may even be unkind to you. But once you realize that people don't have to be good to you and may not be good to you, you learn to avoid those who harm you. For you don't owe them anything either. No one owes you anything. You owe it to yourself to be the best person possible, because if you are, others will want to be with you. They'll want to provide you with the things you want in exchange for what you're giving to them. Some people will choose not to be with you for reasons that have nothing to do with you. When that happens, look elsewhere for the relationships you want. Don't make someone else's problem your problem. Once you learn that you must earn the love and respect of others, you'll never expect the impossible and you'll not be disappointed. Others don't have to share their property with you. They don't have to share their feelings with you or their thoughts with you. If they do, it's because you've earned those things. And you have every reason to be proud of the love you receive, your friends' respect, the property you've earned. But don't ever take them for granted. If you do, you could lose them. They're not yours by right. You must earn them. A great burden was lifted from my shoulders the day I realized no one owes me anything. For as long as I thought they were things I was entitled to, I'd been wearing myself out physically and emotionally, trying to collect them. No one owes me moral conduct, respect, friendship, love, courtesy, intelligence. Once I recognized that, all my relationships became far more satisfying. I have focused on being with people who want to do the things that I want them to do. That understanding has served me well with friends, business associates, lovers, sales prospects, and even strangers. It constantly reminds me that I can get what I want only if I can enter the other person's world. I must try to understand how the other person thinks, what the other person believes to be important, what they want. Only then can I appeal to someone in ways that will bring me what I want. And only then can I tell whether I really want to be involved with someone. And I can save the important relationships for those with whom I have the most in common. It's not easy to sum up in a few words what has taken me years to learn, but maybe if you reread this gift each Christmas, the meaning will become a little clearer every year. I hope so, for I want more than anything else for you to understand this simple truth that can set you free. And let's say it one more time. No one owes you anything. That's the article I want to read for you. Would anyone like to say something about this before we go to the next thing I want to read? Absolutely lovely. No one owes you anything. You can also let me give you a chance to unmute yourself. If anyone wants to unmute themselves and share something, they can. Please share. Just Google it. No one owes you anything. You'll get it. But I can share. If you're part of my Telegram group on Hadayoli Telegram group, you can. I post things there regularly. I'll share it there. I can share it in the chat also right now. If you're on the Zoom call, you'll see the chat. YouTube will put later on. Oh, somebody already shared it. Let me ask someone. Chandrama Guru, would you like to say something about this article that we just read? You can unmute yourself. A few months ago, I told a friend the exact same words and she got very offended. It's also how it's said, I suppose. But again, they don't owe you appreciation for your goodness. They don't owe you that either. That's okay. And it can happen sometimes that we get offended, but then later on, we see the truth in it. Yeah, go ahead, Chandrama.
Yes, it's true. No one owes anything. Yeah, how wonderful.
Have you applied this in your life in some way, this idea?
Not yet applied, but I will apply. I'll try to apply.
Yeah, good. Does it make things lighter to think like this?
Yes,
Isn't
truly.
it?
It's
Yeah.
very true. Truly, it's lighter. Today only I realized this thing. No one owes me.
Yeah, beautiful, Chandrama, wonderful. It's a good day.
Thank you.
Reshma, you go, then Nalini after that. Reshma?
It's very freeing.
Yeah.
That you're always told that, it's like you said, it's how you hear it and how it's said.
Yeah.
And it hit home for me when you read that out. Because suddenly now, because they don't owe me anything, I also don't owe them, trying to found that, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Validation, I guess.
Yeah. So I want to say something, Nithya.
Yeah. I'll just come to you, Dipti. I think
Okay.
Nalini had a hand, then you come next.
Okay.
Nalini, go.
So this is a question, Nithya. Is that okay?
Yeah, why not?
So you told two opposites, paradoxical stories. One is about yogis who lived without thoughts for years, right? And knowing that I did not have a thought itself is a thought, first of all. And second one is the last story that you just read. Father wants to give a nice, beautiful lesson for a daughter to keep it and free herself from so many things in her entire life. So this is a beautiful thought to live with.
Yeah.
So we are like, I won't say we, I will say me. I'm like a pendulum. Go thoughtless or have good thoughts. So where do we strike the balance? How do I
No,
decide?
both are beautiful. I think I don't think any. I think life is already in balance. There's no striking that requires. It's required. It's true that, like, for example, you can have a meditation, and at the end of the meditation, you can reflect back and say, yeah, that meditation there were a lot of thoughts, which is not a bad thing, by the way. Because one of the things I teach is the meditation with a lot of thoughts, a lot of stress is being released, so it's fine. And there are some meditations where actually there were actually very few thoughts. You actually were very comfortable just being with the breath, or being with your mantra, or being with just yourself the way you are in awareness. So yeah, it may be a thought, but it's not like, how do you know when someone says, would you like some more food, some more rice? You know, I'm okay. It's not that you have to think, okay, how much have I eaten? Is it full? No, it's just a knowing. I'm okay. I don't need any more food. I'm full. Right. So it's like a knowing. A knowing is not necessarily a thought. It doesn't have to become the form of words. It's a knowing. I've eaten. I'm full. I'm okay. I'm good. The temperature is right. Right. It's a knowing. The knowing doesn't always have to take the shape of a thought. Right. And even if there are a few thoughts here and there, it is nowhere close to the kind of constant cacophony most of us have in our heads going on. So you can imagine a room that's very silent, and once in a while, maybe there's a pin drop, or maybe there's a little cough. That little cough does not affect the serenity of that room, right? So that's the kind of their experience is like in our case, thinking tends to be the norm. A gap in the thinking tends to be the exception. So I guess what those yogis are talking about is that for them, the norm is the gap, and the exception is the thought. Right.
So basically, when there is overthinking, think about these examples, and if it's a cacophony, then decide what you need to do. Yeah. Okay.
And yes, some thoughts can be inspiring, just like this is also an inspiring thought. So yes, we should in the sense these are, I like to say, think it till you feel it, and feel it till you are it. That's the journey. So we can use these thoughts as directing our attention in a good way. A thought like, no one owes me anything. But don't just stay with the thought, feel it. So now when you feel it, it's incredibly powerful. Imagine feeling it. My family members don't owe me anything. My colleagues don't owe me anything. Society doesn't owe me anything. Nobody owes me anything. It might even be worth exploring this one. Even I don't owe myself anything. Wow, that can go really deep.
I was just thinking about it. The
Right.
previous minute.
Yeah, you were.
Doesn't owe me anything.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then so as they don't owe you anything, then you also don't owe them anything. A slightly different version in which I've used this thought is, I give you permission to judge me. For me, that's been a very powerful thought. I give you permission to judge me. Why do I give you permission? Because you're going to judge me anyway. So why don't I give you permission? So now you do it with my permission and my blessings, right? So go ahead and judge me. Why? Because you will never judge me as badly as I've judged myself.
We are our worst critics.
We often are, isn't it? And at least not as regularly. Even if you give me a harsher judgment, I mean, I have beaten you flat in terms of consistency of self-judgment through and through, right? So what are the worst that you'll think? The worst you'll think is the worst that I've ever thought of myself. That's the worst you'll think. Or if you outdo me, then the worst that can happen is I'll also join you. That's the worst that can happen. Nothing worse than that can happen. It's just a thought at the end of the day. So I give you permission to judge me, because truth be told, I've also judged you, and I've also judged pretty much everybody in my life. So then why should you not have the freedom to judge me? Even I've judged myself as well. So this is another version of no one owes me anything. They don't owe me respect. They don't owe me appreciation. They don't owe me validation. I was watching a documentary on Nisargadatta Maharaj and Jack Cornfield, they have to have similar names. Jack Cornfield talked about, Jack Cornfield is a teacher who's been with many meditation masters and enlightened beings. And he talked about in that documentary, I have never been with a person where I had a sense, where I felt so utterly, this person wanted nothing from me. This person did not want my respect, did not want my money, did not want my time. I have never been with a person with a sense that they're not expecting anything from me. It is so freeing to be in the presence of someone. They don't even expect your attention. They don't even expect your respect. Nothing. It is so freeing. Monks, are celibate. At least Buddhist monks are celibate. Most traditions, monks are typically celibate. So we have certain protocols. Celibacy requires certain protocols. So one of the protocols is that you're not alone with the opposite sex. So that's not considered suitable. So when my teacher would be, you know, talking to, especially if some women have come, then there'll be another monk present. Sometimes I was the monk who was present. My teacher was there, I was present. And I was just sitting, he was answering questions. So I remember an incident where a woman said, it's a great relief to be in the presence of a man who is not talking to you like you're a woman. He's just talking to you like you're a person. Because with monks, hopefully, the sexual energy is out of the equation. The sexual tension's out of the equation. That's nowhere on the cards, right? So that right away, in most man-women relationships, somewhere this is there. And it is so, or just a basic fact, forget about sexual tension. The fact that you're a woman, I'm a man. So this woman said something very beautiful. She said that it's wonderful to be here and I don't have to be a woman anymore. I can just be. Because you're just being and I'm just being. And that's a gift. That's a real gift. I found that so beautiful. How rare it is that we can even forget our gender and forget the roles connected to our gender.
Thank you, Nithya. I think every woman enjoys that actually, or likes it,
Yeah, I think
including men, I would
men
say.
do too, I think, yeah.
Men do too. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Who was it, Reshma? I'm forgetting who it was who was trying to speak last time. Rashmi, Reshma?
Wasn't me, Nithya.
Okay, there was somebody who tried to speak, then I went to Nalini instead. You can
Yeah,
unmute
Nithya, I
yourself.
wanted to say something.
Yeah, go ahead. Deepti,
Yeah.
yeah, Deepti, go ahead.
Yeah, so about this article, Nithya, it was wonderfully presented, and what I think is superficially, yes, I had been trying to implement this in many areas of my life, but today the way it was presented, so it has wonderfully come to me like as a gift in a very different kind of packing. So I think this is going to give me a really a different direction from this point onwards.
Wow.
So thank you for sharing this. Yeah.
Thank you, Deepti. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the next thing I wanted to check. So somebody's speaking. Yeah, Deepti, go ahead. The other Deepti. Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Hi.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, since you mentioned me, I just thought I wanted to add on. I meant that it's a very reverberating article for its purity because it just allows us to be with the power of whatever it is, that power of acceptance and surrender, which is nothing but I think just love, and that is why I could feel my heart expand a little more. That free flowing energy, coming in when you read out the article.
Yeah,
So it was
beautiful.
very beautiful. Thank you for
So
sharing it with
lovely.
us.
Thanks, Deepti. We were studying the Course in Miracles, and it's a wonderful book, by the way, Course in Miracles. And there was one particular lesson in there which said, I'm upset with dash because I'm seeing something that's not there. So replace the word upset and replace the dash with anything you like. So for example, I'm angry with my whatever, neighbor, brother, mother, father, boss, with the government, because I'm seeing something that's not there. So the lesson is making us notice, what are you adding? There's something you're adding. By itself, it just is what it is. Your mother is the way it is, brother, husband, wife, sister, the world, the government, the weather. It is the way it is. I'm angry, upset, frustrated. You fill in the blank, whatever, or just the simple word is upset. But if you can use any more precise word, because I'm seeing something that's not there. So just play this game with me now. Fill in the blanks. Make a sentence like this for your life, which is true for you in your own mind. I'm upset / angry / sad, whatever. With, again, could be a person, situation. And then just say, because I'm seeing something that's not there. And now notice what insight this generates. So be with this for a couple of minutes. Make a statement and be with it. Once you make the statement, just be with it. You don't have to overthink, just be with it. I'm upset because of dash. I'm upset with dash because I'm seeing something that's not there. This one can go really deep. It's beautiful. See, one simple version is I'm upset with whatever because I'm seeing something that's not there. Chances are, whatever you chose is not even here right now. You're imagining it. Whatever person you thought of, situation you thought of, chances are it's not even here. It's something that you're imagining. So, right, first of all, right there, it's an imagination, and you're upset. Secondly, is it really that? Or is it a layer of expectation, how they should be, how they could be, how I could be, what it'll lead to, what will become as a result of this? So within the hypnotic trance is another hypnotic trance, right? So notice how this is something that we are creating. By itself, it's a beautiful moment. And then we have these kinds of automatic negative thoughts, automatic comparative thoughts, judgmental thoughts. Saraswati says, I felt it didn't exist in this moment. Yeah. So if you have any question, because sometimes it's a little subtle for people. If you don't understand this, please ask. I'm happy to clarify. But I think most of you got it right. You have to just notice how you're adding something, and that's your suffering, not what's happening. It's the layer you're adding to it. And that's great to know because you're adding the layer, so you can also unadd the layer. You don't have to add the layer every time anymore.
Can you give a more specific example, Nithya?
So let's take an example with you, Reshma. Can you something you're comfortable sharing in this group? So I am upset with dash, and then just say the rest of it. Because I'm seeing something that's not there. Give me an example from your life.
I am upset with where I'm at in my career right now because I'm seeing failure, which is very much
so. Yeah, don't have to fill in that part. Just say because I'm seeing something that's not there for now.
Because I'm seeing something that's not there. Okay.
So just think of your career.
Okay.
Notice the images that come up. Some memories will come up, some images will come up, some projections will come up.
Yep.
So now the question is, you're suffering, you're upset. Is it coming from the fact of your career or from what you're imagining about your career?
It's coming, I think, and again, I don't know whether this is a
It's okay. It's fine. Yeah.
It's coming from the reality of the situation and the fear that I can't change it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, the reality of the situation is like it could be a very, it's a very the job could be unsuited to you or whatever it is, right? Now, wherever you find yourself, you find yourself. By the way, there's nobody in this world who always does what they love. Even people like me, who I pretty much choose my own career. I decide to do this call or not. I do whatever I want to do. But even I'll have pockets of doing the things I don't necessarily want to do. Nobody can 100% do exactly what they like to do all the time, right? So you are where you are, and it is what it is. And now we add to it the layer that I should not be here and I can't even get out of here.
It's actually a little bit more than what you said. As I
Go ahead.
think I tried to tell you earlier, it's been a pattern the last 3-4 years. I get the job that I want. It's a great job. It's a job that I really love. It's a role that I really love because it involves a lot of different responsibilities, which I like. But then something happens and I lose the job. And I get another brilliant job. And again, the same cycle repeats itself.
Yeah.
And now, because this is India, you can't explain that because I didn't quit to get married or have children or, very socially acceptable reasons. How do you explain?
So now that becomes a handicap for you.
It becomes a handicap and it's something I can't fix because,
Yeah.
So I'm in this catch-22 and that sense of failure is very overwhelming. So I try to not to think about it, and I've gotten to a point where I don't even want to apply. I don't want to talk, take any constructive steps because I can imagine the conversation that's going to happen, and I just cringe away from that.
Now, because in a way, you are failing yourself before anybody else has a chance to fail you.
Exactly.
How do you know? You might meet someone there who's interviewing you, who's actually changed more jobs than you have, more often than you have.
I think I've had a couple of really unpleasant experiences. So maybe
and that's become like a trauma, right? Yeah, nobody owes you a pleasant interview experience or a pleasant job experience. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's a catch-22. So I don't know how to.
Yeah. What I've seen is the more we try to get away from any situation we're in, the more we in a way entrap ourselves into it. You've tried you've tried both. You've tried getting away from it in the past, and you've tried just suffering through it in the past. And I don't think either of them have been the answer for you.
So
have they?
Would kind of, what's the word? Upping my vibration level, if you want to call it that, because I do a lot of hits, and I've really truly become a spiritual junkie because it makes me. But I wondered if that would fix it because on the outside there's nothing, right? I can't change the facts of the situation. It's also not brain surgery. It's not inventing the wheel or discovering fire. It's not something impossible. The role. So there's no reason I shouldn't be able to get it.
I'll give you an answer you may not like, but it's a good answer anyway. And the answer is that you touch a point, Reshma, where you decide that even if this job is so dissatisfying and every cell of my being revolts to it, I'm willing to do this job for the rest of my life. You touch that point of zero resistance. If this is the way it is, then this is the way it is. And in my experience, when this kind of, John Kabat-Zinn calls it full catastrophe living. Catastrophe is going to come. You want to come, right? So what we are most, Carl Jung found out, brilliant psychological insight. The treasure we seek is in the cave we are terrorized to enter. We're so afraid to enter. So in your case, the cave you're most afraid of is the sense of failure and the sense of being stuck in this job. So I have counterintuitive advice for you. Not visualize a great job and do affirmations and all of that stuff and go for the networking meetings and all of that. My counterintuitive advice for you is now go ahead and meet that monster in that cave. What's going to happen? What's the worst that will happen, right?
Yeah.
The worst that will happen is what you're already going through. This is the worst that can happen.
Yeah.
You're already there. You're already living the worst that can happen. And now everything beyond this is your imagination.
Yeah.
And this is what set me free. When I first began teaching, I noticed a polarity got created. The polarity of I want to be a great teacher. I want to be an awesome teacher. So the moment I have the idea of wanting to be an awesome teacher, then the shadow gets created. Or what if I'm not? Right? So in other words, what if I accidentally misguide people? Or even deliberately misguide people? What if because I've been on this so-called spiritual path, whatever you want to call it, spiritual culture for a long time. So I've seen how many ways teachers get misguided, students get misguided, how many ways People start off with great intentions, then they lose their way. I've seen it happen so many times. So I was very afraid it shouldn't happen to me. I shouldn't misguide my students. I shouldn't, manipulate my students. I shouldn't. There are 100 ways in which one can delude oneself. So I was really concerned about this. So one day I noticed what's happening. All of this contraction. Why there's so much contraction? I have a shadow. So I said, let's explore the shadow. So I sat down and I said, all right, what's it like to be the world's worst teacher? So I exaggerated. In my mind, I exaggerated. How bad can it be, right? So I'm giving all wrong teachings. Everyone who comes in contact with me has a direct gateway, direct passport to hell. The fact that you came in contact with me, you're in trouble, right? Next, now that you're in contact with me, I will find a way to take all your money. I will find a way to take all your property. Basically, I imagine the worst possible way a teacher could be, right? In every possible way, emotionally, every possible way, I abused my students, right? And I allowed myself to see myself in this negative visualization. How bad can it get? And it was so fascinating. Instead of feeling horrible about myself, the most unexpected thing happened. I felt compassion. I said, wow, it takes 1 million such teachers for there to be a true teacher. Otherwise, the word true teacher has no meaning unless there are misguided teachers. The word Buddha has no meaning unless there are 1 million Buddhas. Only if there's a Buddha, you can have a Buddha. If there's no Buddha, Buddha has no meaning. If everyone the Buddha, everyone the Buddha, right? So there has to be, right?
Yeah.
We don't say two-eyed person, two-eyed person. Only if there was a three-eyed person, we'd say two-eyed person. We just say, yeah, this person can see, right? There has to be some comparison. Otherwise, it has no meaning. So I said, wow, why do I always want to be the Buddha? Why do I always want to be the shiny one? Why can't I be the ordinary one? Why can't I be the misguided one? Let somebody else. In this lifetime, let somebody else be the Buddha. In this lifetime, let somebody else be the shiny one. I don't have to be the shiny one.
You took away the pressure of.
And something magical happened. In that moment of allowing myself to be the worst possible teacher, the tension between worst possible and best possible, it collapsed. And suddenly I could just be. And in allowing myself to be, I gave others permission to be.
Interesting. Can I ask you
Like,
a question?
yeah, just to finish the thought. So, if you have a headache, or let's say whatever you have, you're not well, chances are you don't, suppose you have a skin rash, chances are you don't Google who is the world's best skin doctor. Chances are you Google, okay, I live in whatever, Bhopal, Bangalore, New York. Who is the doctor near me? That's what you probably Google. You don't Google the world's best skin doctor. So wherever I am, I don't have to be the world's best teacher. But wherever I am, can I alleviate some suffering? Can I bring some light? Can I bring some laughter? What Benjamin Zander calls shiny eyes. Can I bring some shiny eyes? That's good enough. Why does it have to be so magnanimous and have the biggest organization and biggest YouTube following and Instagram following and have to be all over the news? Why? This is just ego, right? This desire, then it's ego. Now it's no longer about showing up. Now it's about being shinier than the other person. So in my case, that was the collapse. And it was fascinating that the collapse happened by going in the direction I didn't want to go. I began doing this with my workshops. I would think of what's the best possible outcome, BPO, best possible outcome for my workshops. I call them joy shops. But I'd also think about what's the worst possible outcome? How bad could it get? People will be skeptical, people will get bored, people will walk out. And only when I got to a place where I was okay with the BPO and the WPO, worst possible outcome, and I was equally okay with both, that's when I knew it was going to be a powerful, transformative workshop. That was my homework. My homework was to come to a place of zero. Only when you get to the point of zero does real transformation happen. As long as the agenda is on, then the delusion is also on. Then Maya will continue. It'll keep weaving. So there's no mistake that you are where you are. And that next awesome, amazing, incredible career opportunity you're seeking, the seeds of that are found where you are. If you think it is about somehow I've got to get away from this, next job, next opportunity, better resume, that's all tactical stuff. You're not dealing with the root issue. And the root issue is your resistance. And the next job, and we find these people that, they one job to next job, one relationship to next relationship, it's always the same thing. They haven't dealt with the root issue. So that's the invitation.
So sorry, the follow-up question was I'm in an incredibly competitive industry, investment banking. I have managed to manifest two amazing jobs with two top of the pack banks, and it has been great. And sorry to say, but shit happened and things didn't work out. So it was my fear from day one that this would happen. So I manifested the worst as powerfully as I manifested the best.
Mhm.
I don't know how I can shut it off. Like I wanted the best, I got the best. Ho gaya, bas, like let's stay here now. How do I stop the manifestation?
But see, you have to ask yourself what you really want. See, you have tasted the so-called best, and
Yeah.
then the so-called worst also happened. But what do you really want? Do you really want just more of the same? Because you've seen you can get the more of the same, and then it'll again go. That's not where the juice is.
Why does it go is my question. Because I like the job, I do well at it, but there are circumstances beyond my control that lead me to then not sticking on long term. And this industry is one where people come to die. Like literally, you cannot get into a bank and you're there until until you retire. It's one of the few industries where that's still the case.
Let me ask you, when you were really in flow, what was your state of consciousness? What was your state of being?
I was very happy, but there was this inherent fear ki when is the other shoe going to drop? And I don't know why, and I couldn't stop it. And I was like,
Yeah,
this.
so it's both, right? It's happy but fear. Like the slide we were looking at, it's like you're perfectly going there. The
Yeah,
desire got fulfilled, but then there was fear right there.
exactly. So how do you cut it off though? Like, what can you do?
No, you
Right.
have to, because you still haven't touched what you really want. You're still chasing the mirage, right? So this is your homework. You're still not there. You're still in the sense of, oh, that felt nice. I want more of that again. So the thirst is going to linger.
It's,
We have to come to
it's
we have to ask ourselves.
it's the most unspiritual field that there is,
नहीं नहीं
right?
कोई unspiritual ऐसी कोई बात नहीं सब कुछ spiritually होता है. So all these ashrams and all are running from donations from these people only. So there's what is spiritual, what is not spiritual, no one can really say.
What I'm trying to say is there's no deep, reason. Like, it's not that I'm in medicine and it's a deep-rooted desire to help people. I'm not even a portfolio manager, but I'm making money for
The
people.
doctors here will tell you that most doctors don't have this deep-seated desire to help people. They may have begun with that, but often they've lost their way long back, right? Just because it's not there doesn't mean it can't be there. I'll give you a question to meditate on every day before you work. You ask yourself this question: what is the deepest pain of my customers?
Okay.
You meditate on this question. What are the deepest pain? Customers is not only external clients, it's also internal customers, people who work with you. What is the deepest pain of my customers? The people I associate with on a day-to-day basis. Because, everything you've been asking me is, how can it get better? How can I come out of this? How can I come out of this? It's again focused on you. How boring, even if you get an answer, how boring. Shift your focus for a bit. You're not the only one. By the way, I work with all kinds of people, including from your industry. Lots of people I work with, right? So you're not the only one. And each one thinks that they're the only one who's feeling out of whack. No, they're all out of whack. The whole industry is out of whack. The whole corporate mindset is out of whack, honestly. It's the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
And not that it's a bad thing. It's a phase, right? Everything has phases. And that friction leads to the next level of evolution. It's just inherent in it. So the question for you is, what is the deepest suffering of my customers, my clients, the people I work with? And then you ask yourself, what can I bring? So one day, as an experiment, today might have been a holiday, Republic Day. Tomorrow, if you wake up in time, now that it's late. So ask yourself, what is the deepest pain of my customers? And what can I do to alleviate it, even 1%? My brother did an experiment for a month. He said, I'll be 1% kinder, 1% kinder. It changes things, because see, when I say be kind, it's like, be kind. I'm not a kind person. But 1% kinder, we're all capable of being 1%. Like when you get into the Uber, you ask the guy, how's your day going? And you really mean it. How's your day going? How is it? How's it been? What time did you wake up this morning? How are things going with you? So you're 1% kinder, right? Like, it's something so simple. When I would be going on a long drive, I'd ask my driver, do you need a break? Do you need to use the toilet? He said, wow, nobody ever asks if we need to use the toilet. Nobody ever asks if we are hungry. So sometimes people it's amazing. People don't ask this. They don't even ask the driver if they're, like this guy said, one of my drivers said, I had taken a Korean tourist, and he stopped the car. He wanted to buy a cold drink. He bought me also a cold drink. Oh, I was so happy.
Yeah.
And then I thanked him. I drank it. I threw the bottle out of the window. When we reached the next gas station, I saw the tourist get out of the car, go looking for a dustbin to drop his bottle. He never said anything to me, but I said, wow, this man cares more about the cleanliness of my country than I care about it.
Mm.
See, this was the real example. This was a real incident from one of the person who was driving me.
Wow.
He said, that day I learned not to throw stuff out of the window. He didn't say anything to him.
Yeah.
But just through his example, this driver learned a lesson. This so-called foreigner is more conscientious than I am about my own country. He went looking all around, where's the dustbin, where's the dustbin?
Interesting.
So like this, you show up. It's not about, this is all externalities, the job and the outer thing, the, what role it is and all of that. This is all externalities. If you come from a place of service, I was doing a program for a very big construction company, and the entire top management team was with me. And one of the people said that I love my role. I love my job. It's so good. It's so spiritual. My role is so spiritual. My job is so spiritual. I said, what is your role? He said, it is my job, my role to liaison with government officials. Now, if you know anything about the construction industry, that's probably the hardest job, to get permissions from the government for building. That's where the maximum bribery happens. That's where the maximum corruption happens. And this person says, I love my role. I love my job. When I wake up in the morning, I pray. And when I pray, in my mind's eye, I see all of these government officials as representations of God. And when I go to their office, I treat them like that. And I've been working for so many years. I've never had to do any underhanded dealings. I've always found a way to make it work. And I love my job. And everybody in the room was nodding their head. Yeah, he does it. He does it. With all the so-called corrupt people, he does it. He pulls it off. So what you and I might call the most horrible job, having to deal with the difficult bureaucracy of India, through the power of his intention, he says, no, I see God in each one of them. And I treat them respectfully. And it works. Every single time it works. This is the power of Sankalp Shakti. Yatha drishti tatha shrishti. So there's no mistake where you are. And this is your opportunity, right? So last one example I'll give you. I saw this in a TV show some time back. This detective is interviewing a lady in her car. There's been a crime and she's interviewing her in the car. And as the interview goes on, the lady's eye goes to the dashboard of the car. And there's just a small sticker on the car, the dashboard. It says, send me. I'm here. She says, what does it mean, send me? I'm here. So the detective says, actually, I'm Christian. And I have a belief that God doesn't directly intervene in the world. He uses messengers. And sometimes when someone prays or needs help, he wonders, who should I send? Who should I send? So I put my sticker here permanently, send me, I'm here.
How lovely is that?
So God should know that I'm here, send me. So suppose that was your sticker. And for a moment, just forget career. Beyond career is calling. Career also is not the highest thing. We think there's job, there's career, there's calling. So there are stages beyond career also. So for a moment, leave aside all this career and comparing yourself. And let's just for a moment consider that you have been put here not by accident. There's a reason why you are in this particular organization, this particular setup with this particular set of clients. And there's a reason. And then you say, how can I be a channel of blessings here? Make me a channel of thy peace. Right? Send me, I'm here. Suppose you woke up next morning with this kind of intention. See what it does. Right? It changes the whole energy from what can I get to what can I bring. Ultimately, what you're really craving, Reshma, is not a change of job. You're craving a change in your consciousness. You're imagining a different job will lead to that. But this is the backward way of doing it. And it's an unreliable way of doing it, honestly. The straight way, go straight. Don't beat around the bush. Shift your consciousness right away. And you'll see everything then aligns, everything shifts. I choose to love what I do until I can do what I love.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I want to read you the second article. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Yeah, this is the one. So this is by Elizabeth Gilbert. Okay, 1 second. It's in Facebook, and Facebook is giving me some trouble logging in. I think I have it somewhere else. 1 second. I've saved this somewhere in my computer. Give me a second. It's playing hide and seek with me, but we should be a little persistent. Let's see. Patty, see if you can find this article. It's Not This by Elizabeth Gilbert. For me, it's coming inside Facebook. I'm not able to log into Facebook right now. I think I'm going to get it now.
Can I
Yeah.
share?
Did you find it?
I found it on the Facebook post.
Yeah, it's a Facebook post. It's also somewhere else on the internet. But do you have it with you?
Yeah, I have it here. So you want me to share screen?
Copy and paste it in the chat, and I'll read it out.
It's not getting pasted in the chat.
Give me 1 more second. I think I'm about to find it now. Sometimes when it's difficult to find, it's even more relevant.
It's not allowing me to paste it here.
Wait, give me a second.
Oh, yeah, it has come now, I think. Oh, Dimple has pasted it. Oh,
Have you?
Dimple has.
Yeah, you got that's it. Okay, let me read this out. This is so good. Yeah, all right, here we go. So Not This by Elizabeth Gilbert. Dear ones, most of us at some point in our lives, unless we have done everything perfectly, which is nobody, will have to face a terrible moment in which we realize we have somehow ended up in the wrong place, or at least in a very bad place. Maybe we will have to admit that we are in the wrong job or the wrong relationship, with the wrong people around us, living in the wrong neighborhood, acting out on the wrong behaviors, using the wrong substances, pretending to believe things that we no longer believe, pretending to be something we were never meant to be. This moment of realization is seldom fun. In fact, it's usually terrifying. I call this moment of realization not this. So just like with the last article I read, every time I say not this, I want you to also say not this, just for the fun of it. I call this moment of realization. In fact, I'll raise my hand like this so that you know. not this. Because sometimes that's all you know at such a moment. All you know is not this. Sometimes that's all you can know. All you know is that some deep life force within you is saying, not this. And it won't be silenced. Your body is saying, not this. Your heart is saying, not this. Oh, what happened? So is it not spacing the whole thing? Let me go and see if I can find enough. Give me a second. Yeah, now it's here. Okay, so I'll keep reading. So all you know is some deep life force within you is saying, not this. And it won't be silenced. Your body is saying, not this. Your heart is saying, not this. Your soul is saying, not this. But your brain can't bring itself to say, not this, because that would cause a serious problem. Your problem is you don't have a plan B in place. This is the only life you have. This is the only job you have. This is the only spouse you have. This is the only house you have. Your brain says, it may not be great, but we have to put up with it because there are no other options. You're not sure how you got here to this place of this, but you sure as hell don't know how to get out of here. So your brain says, we need to keep putting up with this because this is all we have. But still, beating like a quiet drum, your body and your heart and your soul keep saying, not this, not this, not this. I think some of the bravest people I've ever met were people who had the courage to say the words, not this, aloud, even before they had an alternative plan. People who walked out of bad situations without knowing if there was a better situation on the horizon. People who looked at life, at the life they were in, and said, I don't know what my life is supposed to be, but it's not this. And then they just left. I think of my friend who walked out of a marriage after less than a year and had to move back in with her mother, back into her childhood bedroom, and face the condemnation of the entire community while she slowly created a new life for herself. Everyone said, if he's not good enough for you, who will be? She didn't know. She didn't know anything about what her life would look like, but it started with her saying, not this. I think of my friend who took her 3 young children away from a toxic marriage, despite that fact that her husband supported her and the kids financially. And the 4 of them, this woman and her 3 children, all slept in one bed together in a tiny studio apartment for a few years while she struggled to build a new life. She was poor, scared, alone, but she had to listen to the voice within her that said, not this. I think of friends who walked out of jobs with no other job waiting for them because they said, not this. I think of friends who quit school rather than keep pretending that they cared about this field of study anymore. And yes, they lost the scholarship. And yes, they ended up working at a fast food restaurant while everyone else was getting degrees. And yes, it took them a while to figure out where to go next. But there was a relief at last in just surrendering to the holy, non-negotiable truth of not this. I think of friends who bravely walked into Alcoholic Anonymous meetings and just fell apart in front of a room full of total strangers and said, not this. I think of a friend who pulled her children out of Sunday school in the middle of church one Sunday because she'd had it with the judgment and self-righteousness of this particular church. Yes, it was her community. Yes, it was her tribe, but she physically could not be in that building anymore without feeling that she would explode. She didn't know where she was going, spiritually or within her community, but she said, not this, and walked out. Rationally, it's crazy to abandon a perfectly good life, or at least a familiar one, in order to jump into a mystery. No sane person would advise you to take such a leap with no plan B in place. We're supposed to be careful. We're supposed to be prudent. And yet, if you keep ignoring the voices within you that say, not this, just because you don't know what to do, instead, you may end up stuck in not this forever. You don't need to know where you're going to admit that where you're standing right now is wrong. The bravest thing to say can be these two words. What comes next? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. It might be worse. It might be better. But whatever it is, it's not this. Onward. Elizabeth Gilbert. Isn't that amazing? Beautiful. Anyone wants to say something? We have another 5 minutes to go. You can unmute yourself if you want to say something. Madhu.
Yeah, I think today we had a session before this, and it kind of opened doors. And you said there is a session at 10 you can join. And I don't know, I'm fully awake. And how wonderful. And I think I just heard what I needed to hear. I only hope I can remember this session for many, many years of my life. Thank you, Nithya.
So beautiful.
I want to say something.
Alka, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, abhi uske just pehle we said that think even if it's the worst job, yeah, I will. So what, right?
Paradox again.
Paradox. And
Great
then
faith,
just now you said not
great
this.
doubt, great awakening.
It was back to back. So
see, that's even better. It's even better.
So,
but you know, one thing we are not taught much in school, which is an important thing, is the ability to hold two opposite thoughts in our system at the same time. We love just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. We like to be sheep. Tell me what to do. No, we're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to wake up. We want you to wake up and take responsibility. This life is messy. This life has got many paradoxes. There are no clear-cut answers, right? Mistrust those who tell you there are clear-cut answers. Mistrust people like me if we give you very easy answers. No, don't. So how nice that I said that and that's it. This is the way. Then suddenly I read the other things. This is also true. Now what? Now you're left in the mystery again. So this is the place. Come back to the mystery. Beyond idea of the right doing and wrong doing is a field. I'll meet you there. So come into the field. Why are you wanting the right answer? Because you're afraid at some level of making the wrong decision.
Nothing is black or white. We just have to sense from our inner being what is right for that particular situation.
And that particular moment.
And that also is not right, but it is my way of
it is.
Saying that okay, I'll stick to it or not this.
Yeah.
So that's my choice. And I think that's free will and again destiny again that comes again, right?
Yeah.
So every moment I think is that kind of realization where you can live for the moment.
Yeah.
So
and you know, sometimes even these become like cliches, live for the moment and things. It's just living life.
But your body tells you, no, मतलब वो अगर feeling of contraction आता है, somewhere you're not relating to it, right? You're doing it because other people are telling you to do it. So maybe I will do it at that time.
Yeah.
But later on, I feel I do reflect because I did not feel good while doing that thing.
Yeah.
So अगर मुझे नहीं करना है, why am I doing it जबरदस्ती? So maybe I can break that pattern.
Yeah.
So we keep doing those things and it, your gut tells you, your stomach goes queasy and you start feeling uneasy and then you keep doing it. So then that's where the frustration starts. That's where the complaining starts. So sometimes I think
love the question. I came across a very interesting question a few days back, which I really liked. Very simple question. The question goes like this. How can I turn the odds in my favor? How can I turn the odds in my favor? So instead of feeling like such a victim, oh, this happens, that happens, I do, they do. But is there any way that you can turn the odds, even a little bit in your favor? In the favor of, not in your favor in terms of your selfish idea, but in the favor of the best expression of who you are. How can you turn the odds? And if you ask, I think a lot of the quality of our life has to do with the quality of the questions we ask. If you ask high quality questions, you get high quality answers. You ask low quality questions. Like a low quality question would be, why me? Mujhe kyun hota hai? That's a pretty low quality question because you're only going to give more and more answers about how stupid you are, how ridiculous you are. That doesn't help. But here's a good question. How can I turn the odds in my favor? One of the teachers, very famous teachers, talks about saying, how does it get better than this? That's an interesting one. How does it get better than this? Right? So ask high quality questions because questions direct your attention. When I ask you, what's the color of your front door? It sent all your minds racing to your front door, at least the memory of the front door. Right? When I ask you, what was the moment of your life which was you felt most powerful, most connected, most in tune, your mind went racing for the answer, right? So the quality of the question determined the quality of the attention, where the attention went. And then based on the attention comes everything else. So high quality question. So why don't you become a curator of high quality questions? The first question could be, what's a good question to ask? In my situation, what's a powerful question to ask? Maybe that's a good question to start with. And the questions will come. And from the questions, you'll have, instead of inappropriate attention, feeling like a victim, you have appropriate attention. Wisdom comes from appropriate. Buddha says, yoniso manasikara, appropriate attention. What are you giving attention to? How are you giving attention to it? Right? And then from that appropriate attention, there will be a flow of clarity and appropriate thoughts, words, and actions which emerge. Nice. Thanks, Alka. All right, are we feeling complete?
Nithya, one quick question. And this is the first session I have attended of yours.
Oh, really? All right. Welcome.
Yeah. And my brother actually told about you long back in 2009, and I was about to join your procrastination.
Wow, that was long back. Yeah.
Somehow it got postponed or something of that sort. I mean, it didn't happen at that time.
Yeah.
And then I thought of you, and all of a sudden I saw Insta message, and somehow luckily I could hear you out. I feel good. So what next? I mean, how does I think this was a impromptu session that you have created now.
I think we have I do a session every full moon and new moon. Patty, when is the next session we have? Just unmute yourself.
Tomorrow night, 10 to 12 is the full moon.
Is it tomorrow night?
Yes, full moon meditation.
Wow, you guys are in trouble. All right. So tomorrow night, again, 10 to 12. Shriram is banking his head. Oh, what have we done?
Oh, wow.
So we have another. Normally I do it twice a month, but this morning I woke up with Raj Karna hai. So maybe it was for you, Ashutosh. I don't know.
So can we join?
Yeah, everybody can join. It's an open session. So full moon and new moon.
Oh.
Paddy, how can they get the details of that?
Yeah, so the Hadioli group. So just ping me, Padmaja at nithyashanti.com. PADMAJ.
He spells Padmaja with a double A at the end. So Padmaja at nithyashanti.com. Or you can go to Telegram and search for Hadayoli. That's a group where I post everything. Otherwise, if you're on Instagram, I have a link. You click on that link, all the other links are there. And then you find a way to join us, right?
Sure.
And then, so let's start with that, the session tomorrow. And then there'll be some more sessions and other things. Some of them are open for everybody. Some of them are with selected groups. Some are paid, some are unpaid. So you can see what you want to join based on what's interesting for you.
Great.
I want to end with a blessing prayer. So just be quiet. Yeah, Reshma?
Will you be posting links to the stories that you referenced? Because I would love to go and read the...
Yes, let's. I think some people have already posted it in the chat. What you do is you join my Hadayoli on Telegram. You're already there? So I'll share the link there. I'll share the link. I want to end with a blessing chant. This is a Pali blessing chant, sending good wishes in all directions. Just going to mute everybody temporarily. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vidyacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarathi sattha deva manussanang buddho bhagavati swakhato bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko akkaliko ehipassiko aupanayiko pachattang veditabbo vinyohiti Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Samichi patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Yadidang chattari purusa yugani atta purusa puggala Esa bhagavato savaka sangho Ahunayyo pahunayyo dakhinayyo anjali karaniyo Anuttarang punyakhetang lokasati Metta sahagatena chetasa ekang disang paritava viharti तथा द्वितीयं तथा तृतीयं तथा चतुर्थं इदियुक्तमदो तिर्यं सब्बति सब्बा तथा यसब्बावन्तं लोकं मेत्ता सहगतेन चेतसा विपुलेन महग्गतेन अपमानेन अवेरेण अभयापाज्येन परितवा विहरति करुणा सहगतेन चेतसा एकं दिशं परितवा विहरति तथा द्वितीयं तथा तृतीयं तथा चतुर्थं यदि युद्धमदो तिर्यं सब्बति सब्बा तथा यसब्बा वन्तं लोकं करुणा सहगतेन चेतसा विपुलेन महग्गतेन अपमानेन अवेरेण अभयापाज्येन परितवा विहरति मुदिता सहगतेन चेतसा एकं दिशं परितवा विहरति तथा द्वितीयं तथा तृतीयं तथा चतुर्थं यदि युद्धमदो तिर्यं सब्बति सब्बा तथा यसब्बा वन्तं लोकं मुदिता सहगतेन चेतसा विपुलेन महग्गतेन अपमानेन अवेरेण अभयापाज्येन परितवा विहरति उपेक्षा सहगतेन चेतसा एकं दिशं परितवा विहरति तथा द्वितीयं तथा तृतीयं तथा चतुर्थं यदि युद्धमदो तिर्यं सब्बति सब्बा तथा यसब्बा वन्तं लोकं उपेक्षा सहगतेन चेतसा विपुलेन महग्गतेन अपमानेन अवेरेण अभयापाज्येन परितवा विहरति भवतु सब्बमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सब्बदेवता सब्बबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सोत्थि भवन्तु ते भवतु सब्बमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सब्बदेवता सब्बधम्मानुभावेन सदा सोत्थि भवन्तु ते भवतु सब्बमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सब्बदेवता सब्बसङ्घानुभावेन सदा सोत्थि भवन्तु ते And we chanted the qualities of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, and then we radiated infinite loving kindness in all directions, infinite compassion in all directions, infinite joy in all directions, infinite balance of mind, equanimity of mind in all directions. And then by the power and the grace, the truth of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, we wished infinite blessing and happiness to each and every one of you. Whatever you've heard today in this agenda-less session, which was unplanned and therefore exactly what needed to happen. Whatever stories were told, examples were shared, questions were asked, whatever articles were read, whatever opportunities we had to explore these teachings together. From all of this, whatever's meant to stay, may it stay without effort, may it get integrated into your being. And whatever's not meant for you at this time, may it not create any sense of missing out. What's meant to stay will stay and elaborate itself into your life and the rest of it at the right time. So with this sense of completion, gratitude to each one of you for showing up, gratitude to Padmaja for helping me record this, gratitude to Zoom and all the technology that enables us to connect like this across great distances. Lots of love. Be well. We end with a beautiful symbol, Mayurma symbol, which means infinite happiness to all, infinite blessings to all. Just spotlight myself so you can see me. Take your hands up and bring them down a bit, and then draw a big heart in the air. And then multiply by infinity 3 times. First time is smaller, second time is bigger, third time is huge. And you come to your heart, and we all say together, Mayurma, Mayurma, infinite love and blessings for all. All right, thank you. Be well.